G'day ladies and gents, Cubic Meter here with a video covering the basics of autocrafting. So I have a simple setup here to demonstrate some of the mechanics involved. I'm of course using the autocrafting table feature in Carpet Mod. I'll start by filling up this crafting table here. So what happens is the crafting table gets changed into an inventory like a chest, so you can store items in it. And containers such as hoppers and droppers can move items in and out of the crafting table. The crafting tables will fill and empty in the same direction as writing, which is you start in the top left, move across to the right, then go to the next row. As you can see. So it's fairly intuitive. As each slot gets a single item in it, a corresponding signal strength will be read by the comparator. So you get 0 to 9 slots, gets translated to a range of 0 to 15 signal strength. And that way you can always monitor how many slots are filled. And this is invariant to the amount of items in a single slot, as you can see. Another detail I should point out is that if you have the same item entering a crafting table repeatedly, instead of stacking like it would in a normal inventory, the item will move to the next slot in the crafting table. So this is an important point when considering whether autocrafting is overpowered or not. Mojang is concerned that if they introduce autocrafting into the vanilla gameplay, it would remove the player from the process of crafting. However, that is definitely not the case. Because say for example, either player wanted a stack of pistons, I'll just walk up to the table and do that, and boom, stack of pistons instantly. In order to do this with autocrafting, you'll need some complicated machine with some limited speed, because we can't stack items automatically like the player can. And so it actually becomes prohibitive for the player to use autocrafting for small scale applications. But what if either player now wanted to craft an entire shulker box of pistons? Well, now what happens is we reach a limitation regarding the player's inventory. The player cannot actually hold enough items to craft an entire shulker box of pistons in a single operation. Instead, what the player will have to do is do a repeated process of gathering resources from some storage and using the crafting table. And just to demonstrate, I'm going to craft an entire shulker box of pistons right here. And we're done. My goodness, that was an entire shulker box of pistons manually crafted in just 6 minutes. Just for reference, the general autocrafter over on the Scalebook server could do that same operation in 5 minutes. Although obviously I'm not using the optimal setup here, just a bunch of shulker boxes. I had to manually search the inventories. There are auto-crafting systems which will automatically bring the items to the player for crafting, which can obviously do this a lot faster. But in terms of auto-crafting, it's just a generally more satisfying experience. Being able to scale processes such as crafting, so that for small scale, player interaction is the better option, and for large scale, just avoiding the case of, say for example, I wanted to craft an entire double chest of shulker boxes of pistons. That would begin to become prohibitive, requiring the player to do so. I would much rather just get double chests of shulker boxes of each ingredient, put that in a machine, and let it run. So now we have a basic understanding of how autocrafting works in the carpet mod. We can start using it for some useful operations. This is a very simple one wide tileable item splitter. So some items actually have multiple outputs for each input, such as a block of iron, block of gold, bone blocks, etc. And so what will happen is, if I put a stack of these in, one block of iron obviously makes 9 iron ingots. We're feeding in blocks of iron at 1 times hopper speed, but we're taking the ingots out at also 1 times hopper speed. And so in order to balance the input and output, we need a system that detects that the crafting table is full and locks the input. And so that's exactly what this piston does. The instant this comparator detects that there's an item in the crafting table, it will lock, preventing any more items from flowing in. If it does not do this, it will just overflow and the recipe doesn't work. And instead it just starts pulling out the item that you input. So an important thing to note is this comparator will only read items in these 9 slots. It does not care about items in the output slot. So I can demonstrate this quickly by putting a single iron ingot in. As you can see, the instant we start pulling from the output, we can no longer get back our iron block, and these actually stay in the crafting table. However, the comparator does not read them. And this is interesting because we can actually input the next item in the crafting slot while the output is being emptied. So we've just seen a very simple item splitter. Here is an item combiner. Now this will only work for combining up to 9 items. So for making blocks of bone and the various resource blocks. So just compactifying everything. So I can demonstrate quickly. Say you're very rich. And what will happen is the instant this gets the full signal strength, it will then allow this hopper to pull the items out. Because otherwise, this hopper underneath can actually pull items out of the crafting grid. So if I remove this redstone block and unlock the hopper, as you can see, it inputs our resources and also just pulls them straight back out again. But if you keep it locked, it will wait until the table is full and then pull out the full resource block. Now if you want to do single item recipes that combine the items, however in a way that they don't use the full 3x3 grid, you'll need to use a system such as this. So this will automatically balance both the input and the output. This is very useful for recipes such as combining sugarcane to make paper. Because as you can see, you need 1, 2, 3 sugarcane. However, this also makes 3 paper, so you need to balance both the input and output. So if I just put some sugarcane in here, what it does, it will wait until it has 3 slots, and this is achieved by using a variable signal strength to activate these observers. So 3 slots in the crafting table is equal to a signal strength of 5. So using this composter and comparator, I keep the signal strength at 4. However, the instant that goes up to 5, the system changes and it will lock the input, unlock the output, and take out the paper. Once the paper's been started taking out, it removes the items from the input. And it just keeps going, balancing the input and output, so it'll continuously craft paper. So let's now have a look at some of the uses for these autocrafters. Now, but being one wide tile means that if one isn't good enough to handle the output of one of your farms, then just simply stack them up next to each other. And that's what I've done here. I've got this awesome sugarcane farm that Mango designed, which uses the flying machine that acts like a combine harvester. It just gradually harvests the sugarcane as it grows. That gets collected by these hopper carts, which then sends the sugarcane to these autocrafters. And these will automatically turn it into paper. The paper gets sent to this water stream, where it gets filtered out. You can probably already guess what's going on. Paper and gunpowder. Here I've got, this is a special autocrafter which will automatically combine 2 different item types in an outstanding sequence. Here I've got it set up to make rockets. So as you can see, gunpowder and paper get fired into the table in the same game tick, and you make 3 rockets. And this will make about 10,000 rockets per hour, which is a lot. So if you have an issue with using elytras on your SMP server, this is definitely the kind of setup for you. So to get gunpowder, all you need is a simple creeper farm. But make sure you balance the output of gunpowder to paper, so you're not wasting anything. And you're automatically making yourself rockets. So just taking a closer look at the synchronous dropper autocrafter I have here. This is a one wide tileable design that can handle 2 different items. It will combine them in an alternating pattern. In order to handle 2 different types of items, you need to make sure that you have both of the items in order to start crafting, which is why there's an AND gate system here. As you can see, it has paper, but it does not have gunpowder. If I give this gunpowder quickly, this comparator reads that. It activates this system here. This piston fires, pulling the block up, allowing this comparator to read that it has paper. That deactivates this torch, allowing the clock to run. The timing of this clock varies depending on what you're crafting. In my case here, I'm crafting fireworks, which for each pulse from the clock, we craft 3 items. So in order to ensure that the hopper can keep up with that, our clock needs to send a pulse every 1/3 of the hopper's collection cycle. So I've got a 12 game tick clock here, which is multiplied by 2 by the binary counter, making 24 game ticks, which is 8 game ticks is the hopper's collection cycle, multiplied by 3 is 24 game ticks, meaning this will craft fireworks at 1 times hopper speed. Now there is another interesting application for this particular design. It can in fact craft TNT automatically if the 2 items are gunpowder and sand. And we actually have that set up over on the survival skyblock server. So we can just pop over and have a look at that. So here I am over on the skyblock survival world. As you can see, we've been quite busy here, adding new transportation routes. And in fact, our first piston bolt has been built here, heading out to where El Mango's been developing all the bee projects. But what we're interested in is our creeper and Tnt farm. So here is our netherrack factory. And over here is our creeper farm. And this enormous tower you see here, this is the sand farm. And that actually crashes my client because produces way too much sand. So I won't be turning that on. We might cover that at a later date. Well, what I want to demonstrate is these guys. These are the 1 wide tileable TNT crafters. We have 3 of them to handle the output of the creeper farm, which is about 27,000 gunpowder per hour. And so if I come up here, I've got a box full of sand. This should already be full of gunpowder. All it needs is some sand. So once it detects that it has enough of both items, it gets to work. So I'll just show you quickly inside of the crafting table. It will inject gunpowder and sand at the same time. And at the very end, because gunpowder is always the first item, it will continuously alternate. And then the very last item, because it's an odd number of slots, 9, the very last slot will also be a gunpowder. And what will happen is the dropper pushing the sand, it will get to this slot and the crafting table's full, and so the dropper will just not push the item at all, which is quite nice. So you can get this alternating pattern for the TNT and it crafts automatically. So of course, having this on your server is really good for moving away from TNT duping, because it's obviously a little bit cheaty, and having access to things like movable tile entities makes using dispensers with TNT a much better option. And so you'll see on all our new projects we always use dispensed TNT crafted with using this system here. So just on my way to demonstrate another case where we've found the simple autocrafters to be very useful, and thought I should just appreciate some of the work that one of our members, Helga, has put into upgrading the transportation hubs. She's added heaps of new ice roads and these color-coded gateways tell us where to go. What we're looking for is our new Whitetail farm. And this has in fact become our new source of bone meal for the server. And this farm features a sorting system which will automatically craft up all the output items that we want, such as bones get turned into bone meal and into bone blocks. and coal get automatically compacted into coal blocks. So here is the sorting system. As you can see, there are a lot of hoppers here. And in fact, most of these are just bones. Because one of the main issues with the item splitter, so you've got a simple combined system. This is the item splitter. The moment that an item enters this crafting table, it will depower this torch, and with movable tile entities, it'll actually pull the hopper away, so it no longer spits items into the crafting table. So as soon as a bone comes through, it will wait until it gets removed from the crafting table in the form of bone meal before sending another one. And the issue with this is that means that because each bone produces 3 bone meal, the system will run at 1/3 hopper speed. So we need 3 times the amount of bone filters in order to keep up with the flow of items. However, this is offset by the fact that this farm will output the bone meal in the form of bone blocks. So that's the second stage here, where the bone meal just gets compacted. The instant this gets to full signal strength, it will pull in hopper, collect the bone block, and then drop it into the item collection. At the end here we have some filters for coal, and these are simply just the compactor, automatically compact everything into coal blocks. So these are just some examples of the uses for autocrafters. As you can see, they are very handy for automatically handling outputs of farms and transforming items into a form where they are more usable. So thank you very much for watching. This has been a video simply introducing some of the basic principles of the autocrafting, along with some simple designs that can help out with your various projects. So I hope you found some of these useful and will be implementing these in some of your projects. I will be covering some more sophisticated designs in later videos, such as the synchronous dropper crafters, which can handle various different items, 2x2, 3x3 crafting recipes, along with keeping items in order, crafting specific recipes, and so forth. So if you want to be notified of when I do those videos, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.